Hey folks, I'm Sarah and I'm on the 2025 jury for what I think is the best book prize for literary fiction from small presses. It's called the Republic of Consciousness Prize, United States and Canada, and it is dedicated to literary fiction from small presses in North America. Over the next few months, I will be sharing every single book nominated for the prize, and while I can't share my personal opinions on each book just yet, I will share enough details so that you can get to know the book and the publisher. Every book gets its very own video, and you are not going to want to miss a single one. Book number 21 is The Longest Way to Eat a Melon by Jacquelyn Zong-Li Ross, published by Sarabande Books. As Danielle Dutton put it in her blurb, and Danielle Dutton, if you don't know, is the co-founder of another great publisher called Dorothy, a publishing project. Danielle Dutton in her blurb said that these are stories that feel like they exist in an alternate dimension. This is an experimental, absurdist, strange, unsettling collection of stories. There are twins who are separated at birth and sent thousands of miles apart, but are accidentally given the same name. There is a woman named Crisis of Faith who suffers from, you guessed it, a crisis of faith, and gets on an airplane to Mesoamerica to try to come to terms with her spirituality, try to fix what's going on in her soul. There are stories that take the form of lists, which is a structure I always enjoy in a short story, but then there are also longer stories that actually have full chapters to them. There's a real mix. In a lot of these stories, you can feel overtly and just running under the surface too sometimes. You feel an almost desperate struggle with capitalism and capitalist mechanisms. There are also some very visual elements in here, like drawings, like they feel like pen sketches that give this an almost handmade feel, and even the epigraph sets you up for the rest of the book because it takes a quote from a Mary Ruefle poem and crosses out the word lemon and replaces it with the word handwritten melon. Jacquelyn Zong-Li Ross is a writer and editor based in Vancouver, and The Longest Way to Eat a Melon is her first book. And Sarabande Books is an award-winning, internationally distributed, nonprofit, independent literary publishing house founded in 1994 in Louisville, Kentucky. And they say Sarabande Books champions innovative voices in poetry, short fiction, essay, and literature in translation. We're committed to creating lasting editions that honor exceptional writing. And then I checked out their 2023 annual report. They write that as an independent publisher, Sarabande is not beholden to corporate shareholder value, not subject to the whims of university administrators, and it gives them the freedom to publish books ahead of the curve, to invest in authors who challenge, experiment, and excite. Readers come to Sarabande for work that sparks their imagination in new ways. The title story, The Longest Way to Eat a Melon, is definitely one of my favorites in the whole collection, and it's the second to last story, and it follows a narrator who is trying to decide the best way to eat a melon. And this narrator asks lots of opinions of the people around them of how to go about tackling this melon, and they start carrying the melon around with them in like a sling, not wanting to mess up this one opportunity to find the perfect way to make that first cut in the melon. And I think it's like their dad says you should do it diagonally, and then the mom says yes, definitely diagonally. So there's all sorts of thought going in to how to eat this melon. So that story being the title story made me want to talk about title stories in collections. In a well-built story collection, every story earns its place. It's there for a reason. But at some point, the author, and maybe, in conversation with the publisher or an editor, has to decide what the title of the collection is going to be, and often they choose the title of one of the stories. And so you have to wonder, how does that conversation happen? How does that decision get made? So it just makes me kind of think about like, okay, how do you pick which story title? If you're going to pick a title of a story to be the title of the whole collection, how do they choose? Sometimes I feel like it's just the story with the coolest title, because that would make a cool title for the book too. But often you hope that it's a story that somehow speaks to the collection as a whole, a story that captures the collection's essence in some way. And I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on this. Do you have examples of story collections where the title story really does feel like it encapsulates the whole collection? In this case, I think it's both, that it's the story with the coolest title. The Longest Way to Eat a Melon is so memorable, but also I think it is the most fitting story to frame the whole collection too. And I'll read the first paragraph of the title story just to give you an idea of what I think the whole collection is reaching for. The Longest Way to Eat a Melon. I hold it quite happily in my arms, this melon that I have spent my whole life tending. It is round and full of potential, bulging with ego and grandiose expectations. And that's just one of many incredible books nominated by one of many incredible publishers. The long list of 10 books is usually announced in mid-January-ish, but I guarantee you there are going to be more than 10 amazing books from these nominees. So if you love offbeat, under-the-radar literary fiction, you are going to want to follow along. Click above or below for the next nominated book. If I've filmed it, it'll be available there. If not, stay tuned for just a little while longer. And in the meantime, you can click the playlist below that will contain all of the nominated books that I've shared so far. Again, my name is Sarah. Thank you so much for joining me here. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.